Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of high-octane action with a review of The Expendables 3. If you're a fan of explosions, big names, and old-school shootouts, then this one probably made it to your watch list. But the big question is, does it live up to the hype, or is it just another sequel trying to cash in on nostalgia? Let's talk about it. So, The Expendables 3 is the third installment in the franchise led by Sylvester Stallone. This time around, the movie tries to do something a little different. While the first two movies focused heavily on the old-school action stars doing what they do best, kicking butt and blowing things up, this one attempts to bring in a younger generation of mercenaries to join the team. It's kind of a passing the torch moment, but with a lot of gunfire and some seriously questionable one-liners. The plot revolves around Barney Ross, played by Stallone, who discovers that one of his former team members, Conrad Stonebanks, played by Mel Gibson, is actually alive and well. Not only that, but he's become a dangerous arms dealer with a serious grudge. Barney, feeling the weight of his team's age and wanting to avoid more casualties, decides to retire the original crew and recruit a younger, more tech-savvy group of fighters. Of course, things don't go as planned, and eventually, the old and new Expendables have to come together to save the day. Now, let's talk about the cast. This movie is packed. I mean, absolutely loaded with stars. You've got returning legends like Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Randy Couture, and Terry Crews. Then there are new additions like Wesley Snipes, Antonio Banderas, Harrison Ford, and Kelsey Grammer. And if that's not enough, the younger team features Kellen Lutz, Ronda Rousey, Glenn Powell, and Victor Ortiz. It almost feels like the casting director was told to get every action hero and cool fighter available on Earth. Mel Gibson stands out in a big way here. His portrayal of the villain is probably one of the highlights of the film. He brings this intense energy to the role of Stonebanks, and you can actually feel the threat he poses. He's charming, dangerous, and definitely holds his own among the action legends. Antonio Banderas also deserves a shout-out for bringing some much-needed humor and energy. His character, Galgo, is quirky, talkative, and a total contrast to the usually stoic Expendables. It's a fun performance that adds flavor to the otherwise intense atmosphere. But with a cast this big, not everyone gets their moment. Jet Li, for example, is barely in the movie, and some characters feel more like cameos than actual parts of the story. This has always been a challenge with a franchise, balancing so many characters without it becoming a mess. And while The Expendables 3 tries to give everyone a moment, it doesn't always succeed. Visually, the movie delivers on the action. There are massive set pieces, over-the-top stunts, and plenty of explosions. The opening scene, where the team breaks Doc, played by Wesley Snipes, out of a moving prison train, sets the tone perfectly. It's chaotic, loud, and completely unrealistic, and honestly, that's part of the charm. You don't watch The Expendables for realism. You watch it to see big names take down bad guys in the most outrageous ways possible. However, one of the big controversies with this movie was its PG-13 rating. The first two were rated R, which meant more blood, more violence, and more adult humor. Going PG-13 was a strategic move to attract a younger audience, but many fans felt like it watered down the series' signature style. You can definitely feel the difference. The action is still there, but it's cleaner, more polished, and less brutal. Depending on what you're looking for, that could be a good or bad thing. Story-wise, the film is pretty formulaic. There are no real surprises, and you can see the twists coming from a mile away. But that's not really a deal-breaker for this kind of movie. The franchise has always been more about attitude and adrenaline than storytelling depth. Still, it would have been nice to see a bit more emotional weight, especially with Barney struggling with the idea of retirement and letting others take the lead. The pacing also has its ups and downs. The middle section, where Barney is recruiting the new team, tends to drag a little. There's a lot of setup that doesn't quite pay off, especially since we don't get to know the new characters very well. They have some cool moments, but they're mostly one note, and the chemistry with the original crew just isn't quite there. That said, the final act is a full-on action extravaganza. Once the old and new teams unite, it's non-stop chaos in the best way possible. Helicopters, Tanks, explosions, hand-to-hand combat. It's a buffet of action and definitely the film's strongest section. It reminds you why this franchise has its loyal fanbase, even if the earlier parts felt a little slow or uneven. The music and sound design do a decent job of pumping up the adrenaline, and the editing, while sometimes choppy, manages to keep the energy high during the key fight scenes. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. So, what's the verdict on the Expendables 3? Well, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, it delivers exactly what you'd expect, a loud, star-studded, guns-blazing action flick. On the other hand, it struggles with balancing its massive cast, suffers from a less intense rating, and doesn't offer much in terms of story or character development. If you're a fan of the franchise, you'll probably enjoy it for what it is. If you're new to the series, this might not be the strongest entry point. It's not as gritty or fun as the first two, but it has its moments, and the nostalgia factor alone makes it worth a watch for action junkies. I'd give the Expendables 3 a solid 6.5 out of 10. It's entertaining, has some great performances, especially from Mel Gibson and Antonio Banderas, but ultimately, it doesn't break new ground. That's it for today's review. Let me know in the comments what you thought of The Expendables 3. Was it a blast or a bust? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more movie reviews, breakdowns, and everything action-packed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.